Hello, everybody. Let me just check. Hopefully, everybody can hear my sound.
Could somebody just write in the chat so that we know that we can be heard? That would be amazing. Let me just move my camera back a bit. Okay. Chat. Yes. Okay, brilliant. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, G. Will, Toby, Nalene. Thank you. Brilliant. That's great. Thank you. Don't want to ramble on and then nobody will be able to hear us. Okay, fantastic. Okay. So people that have joined us this evening, thank you so much for joining us. This is the first time that we've had our partners and additional panelists on the webinar. So I'm going to try to work it out so that we haven't got everybody talking at one time. So I'm going to mute a few people. Hopefully that's worked. Tash, Juliet, Marcus, can you hear me as well?
Yes. Yeah. Hi, Ben.
Perfect. Awesome. Okay, we're just waiting for Gary and Ben, who are our other two partners that are joining us this evening, and we'll get started. We're up to 70 people. Rachel's just having some difficulties on her computer, so we'll just give it a few minutes. Hope everybody is well, and hopefully the last half term is going as well as it can. I know it's difficult times at the minute, and I'll go into a bit of detail on my daughter's school in a second, but they've done a limited amount of PE, which I can understand, but equally, I mean, I'd love it if they did a bit more. I think now more than ever, it's going to be crucial that children are outdoors and are exercising as and when they can. One thing that's been really interesting, and this is going off topic a little bit from PE specific, but she's been doing a lot of topic work at her school. She's been learning about pirates and dinosaurs, and it's amazing that she's actually coming home and openly talking about her day. Whereas previously I'd ask her what she's been doing and it would be usually, I don't know, or I can't remember. Whereas she's really engaging in her learning. So I suppose despite everything that we're going through being pretty rubbish at the moment, one positive that I've seen is that focus on English and maths all the time. Yes, I know we need to, and schools are measured on that success, but just the sort of few weeks that she's been back now just shows me how much she's enjoyed learning about different things, like I said, dinosaurs and pirates and stuff that she can really engage with, and that topic work. So it's fascinating, really, even that really short snapshot of what she's been learning about. It's been brilliant for me as a parent as well, because I can see and just watching her and listening to her excitement about telling me about her day has been brilliant. We'll get started in a second. I'm getting a few messages from our partners. I think they might be struggling to get in. Ben, can you accept me in? I don't know, Ben. Can I accept you in? That's a good question. Right, this will be a bit of a challenge. Marcus, you have to fill a second. How do I let Ben in?
I'm not sure. He is messaging. Can you see me? So you are here, Ben, but we can't see you at present. Just with regard to what Ben was saying, guys, as we go, any questions you do have, feel free to send them in. I'll do my best to, as we go, answer any questions I can. Any questions that I think are relevant to the topic or what we're discussing, we'll try and kind of raise as we go through as well.
I don't know. He's probably entered as a participant and not a panelist, but we'll see if he can work that out during. But we'll crack on and we'll get started. I know everybody's probably got things to do, and we appreciate that you are attending first and foremost. I think the first thing to say, and I'm sure some of you have joined previous webinars before, but it really makes a huge difference to us that we have such big numbers attending and people that want to make a difference in their schools and are thinking ahead towards September about the kind of provision and the kind of PE that they can provide the children at their school. So it's brilliant, and thank you once again for joining us. And I am now going to share my screen. We'll get started on the slides. The people that are in the gallery view, which I hope you can see as well. So we've got Marcus, who's my business partner. We've got Natasha with us at the moment, who's our lead coach with Inspired Schools. Juliet, who's with us as well from 40s PE, and I'll introduce Juliet and Natasha properly later. And then hopefully, if Ben can work out how to enter as a panelist, we'll have Ben Cox. Oh, and timely, Gary has just joined us as well. Hi, Gary. Gary is based in Norfolk, and I'll introduce Gary properly a little bit later on. I'm just going to mute you, Gary, not because I don't want to hear you, but I've got a bit of feedback coming from your computer. Okay, great. Let's get started, and I'll share the screen, and we'll get moving. Perfect. Okay, so tonight's topic is social distancing in PE. We have done a similar webinar to this before, but this one is, I guess, an updated kind of version 2 in line with what schools and our coaches and Natasha's experienced delivering on the front line, if you like. So we've kind of amended it and we've updated it with our experiences. We're also going to introduce our partners at intervals during the slides, and ask them some questions as well about their experiences and why we sort of teamed up with some different people now also. So a bit about us to start with, and apologies if you've already been on a few of our webinars and you know about us already, so I'll fly through this. So my name is Ben Kirk. I was a secondary school PE teacher and started Key Stage Coaching. I've got my old shirt on tonight, so Key Stage Coaching started in 2013, and I'm sure everybody listening is aware and has coaching companies or has had them delivering in their school previously. So we started, Marcus and I started that in 2013, and we started working in primary schools. Now, Marcus and I both used to work for Somerset Activity Sports Partnership. We're based down in sleepy old Somerset, and so we had experience working in primary schools then, sort of 2006 to 2008, roughly for me, maybe a bit longer for Marcus. And yeah, so that's been running since 2013. And then Inspired Schools, Inspired Playgrounds, which it was formerly known as, started in 2017, around sort of May half-term time. And to give you some context of how many schools we work with, that's actually not an accurate number down at the bottom now. So we now work with 32 schools, coaching schools across Somerset, and we work with 63 schools now on the Inspired Playgrounds project specifically, and they are heavily Somerset based, but we do have schools dotted around in Devon, Dorset, in Wales, in Norfolk, in Wiltshire. There's probably a few more that I've missed out as well, but we're heavily Somerset based, and hence why we'll go into more detail about the partners later, but that's why we've asked them to jump on board with the webinar this evening. And I'll let Marcus introduce himself.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, just answering a couple of questions. Yeah, so Marcus Holmes, I've kind of worked out that whatever role I've ever been in, it's always been around getting individuals into sport and activity and then retaining them as well. So obviously Ben mentioned I've previously worked for the County Sports Partnership within the education sector, but also for Somerset Rural Youth Project, a registered charity looking to increase numbers of 13 to 19-year-olds into activity, physical activity and sport, and then to try and keep them there. And also I had the fortune of working with the FA for 8 years as well, and one of the main primary focuses around that, again, kind of getting new people into the sport and retaining them, and also kind of growing kind of leaders, volunteers and kind of follows of the sports as well. So whatever I've done, it's always been with regard to kind of getting people to fall in love with sport activity and then keep them really as well. So thanks, Ben.
Great. Oh, hi, Rachel. Okay, so some of the problems that we've experienced so far with the delivery into schools, and some of the problems that our coaches have experienced. One, the children, not that they are a problem, but obviously with social distancing, that is the main concern and the main obstacle that everybody needs to overcome. And I'm sure that's probably the reason why most of you have attended this evening. And certainly the earlier years, so EYFS, year one in particular, they obviously being younger, they pose more problems. I'll hand over to Tash in a second, who's been delivering in an infant school specifically as well. So she'll have some first-hand experience that I'm sure will be really useful to everybody. As I said, my daughter's school, they've done limited PE. I don't think they've done much. And as I said, it's understandable. Everything is different at the moment. There are concerns. Everybody's a little bit anxious and wary about what they can and can't do. So I do understand. However, I think we'll all agree that now is more important than ever that children, especially from disadvantaged backgrounds, that they get active, they get outside and they do some PE, because they need it physically, but also mentally as well. Social skills that can be built up doing team games, interacting with other children, not physically, but interacting socially, emotionally as well. So we're going to talk about equipment, or Tash will talk about equipment, space, activities, some of the things that she's done. And I think the biggest thing is to try and make it fun, and to try and give you guys today or this evening some takeaways that will give you a bit more confidence to go and deliver PE in your primary schools, whether you're a sports coach, or whether you are a PE lead or just a class teacher, and looking to deliver PE with your class. Hopefully we can give you some key pointers that you can take away with you today. Daunting, as I mentioned, yes, it is daunting, and I think, as I said, my daughter's school are experiencing that. Our take on it, I'm sure Natasha will go into this and agree with what I'm saying here, it is possible to deliver PE. We've got 10 coaches that have been out and about delivering PE since May half term. Tash has delivered throughout the pandemic and has been in her schools throughout, supporting them. So it is possible. And again, Tash will give us some more information about that. But I think, again, just to finish on this and how important in my eyes, and I'm sure everybody on the panel and I'm sure everybody listening would agree, that we're facing another 6 weeks holiday where those children potentially will be inactive again. So they may have had sort of 4 or 5 months where they haven't really exercised much, or they haven't interacted with other children, they haven't been physically involved with something that's going to make them sweat, get their heart rate up, and something that they can enjoy doing. So solutions, hopefully it's all in place by now. I know it is at all of our schools, but sanitizer stations, in and out of PE, washing hands, using those gels that I'm sure are in place. And again, just to reiterate, I think the learning in PE now, certainly for the first half term is going to be secondary in my eyes. And it kind of is anyway in my eyes, but I won't go into too much detail in that. But the priority is just to make it fun. I think teachers are going to have enough on their plate from September with how their classrooms are going to look, and how teaching in PE and those learning points are secondary in my eyes. Certainly, people may have different opinions to that, but I think fun, getting children active, making it fun so that it's something that they want to do outside of school, beyond school, thinking longer term. So when they go to secondary, that transition, especially for girls into secondary school age, where there's that big drop off in physical activity, and then beyond into college and adulthood, if we can enforce and get children active now and it becomes part of their lifestyle, then that's what we want. So in September, we're anticipating big groups. So those bubbles will become 30s. I know secondary schools, they're talking about a whole year group bubbles, but we're primary school specialists, so we'll talk about that this evening. So groups of 30. Now, if you're concerned about delivering PE to 30 children, and this would be my take on it, then I've seen this happen anyway at primary schools, so that children would be delivered to in sort of half their group, so 15. So if you have enough members of staff in your team, if you have a teaching assistant or higher teaching level assistant, then you could potentially take half a group out and do a PE lesson with them. Obviously, it's easier to socially distance with just half the class. And they can even do half an hour, then they go back in, then the next group would come out and do half an hour. And it would mean that you'd have to do more PE during the week to hit the 2-hour target. But the guidelines at the moment are up in the air as to what those 30 look like and whether PE is realistic to deliver it in 30. I think it is, and I'll go into equipment in a second, but as one solution possibly, which might fit with your school, every school's different. All of our schools, all of our 32 schools are delivering PE differently in their settings. Some schools are delivering PE with zero equipment, and it's just sort of athletics based or movement based activities. Some are incorporating equipment, but it's specific to one bubble, and then some are having equipment that is sort of rotating around on a 2-3 week basis. So yeah, as one option for your school, that's just one idea. So possibly split your class into two and deliver half an hour on 4 separate days potentially, or do an hour and an hour to hit that 2 hour target. Rotation in equipment and types of activities we'll talk about in a second. Is there anything you want to add, Marcus? I know I've sort of rattled through those so far.
No, that's fine. Just getting kind of 1 or 2 questions with regard to the slides. So just to kind of reiterate what you've been saying, all of the slides will be available on our website, YouTube channel, Facebook, but also we'll obviously send all of them out for you guys as well. So everyone here tonight will get copies of the slides. Yeah,
absolutely. Okay, so PE day, and this is something that quite a number of our schools do anyway, to try and maximise the amount of time that children get to take part in PE. So rather than, especially with the early years in year 1, rather than having that change time, which can be 15-20 minutes plus for early years, certainly from September when they start, if they have a PE day, or even to start with early years, don't even worry about getting them changed, potentially do their PE in the hall or wherever, or outdoors ideally, especially with conditions at the moment. But those are just some options. And for our schools that do this, they arrive at school in their PE kit and they leave in their PE kit at the end of the day. I know, Marcus, is it Barrow or when to do that? Which school is it?
Yeah, they do. We've got several schools that the children will come to school on their PE day in their PE kit. There's obviously kind of those teething problems when establishing something like that. So, for example, it does take parents a little bit of time to get used to it, get used to children going in PE kit, and always kind of having PE kit available. But from the schools we've worked with, the amount of activity time within those PE lessons has been doubled, particularly for some of the younger children as well. And I know obviously at the moment with regard to changing and kind of social distancing, it just makes sense. And I know more and more of our schools are adopting that policy now to actually come to school with PE kit on. A key stage 1 lesson, instead of kind of 20 minutes activity, you can be getting 40 minutes of activity. And that can be kind of, your t-shirt shorts, but also kind of an outer garment, a tracksuit bottoms as well, particularly through the winter. But a lot of heads and a lot of head teachers and PE coordinators are starting to adopt that on their PE day as well.
Yeah, great. We sort of fully endorse that, really, to maximise and certainly try and hit those 2 hours of PE per week. And then the second bullet point there is specifically around the sort of 60-minute target per day. And again, this is something that we're really passionate about at Inspire the Schools, and something that we help our schools with specifically, I suppose, in that 60 minutes is a hard task to hit per day. And again, I get that, and I fully understand the challenges that teachers and schools face. So weaving physical activity into the school is certainly one way to have that boost. And I know Tash at some of the schools that she delivers into uses inspired finders or physical activity videos at the start of lessons or rounds. So weaving it in throughout the school day is really key. First thing in the morning, do it. Oh, has my internet gone a bit funny? I see you touching your headphone, Marcus. Have I dropped out?
No, you're fine.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so weaving those physical activity breaks into the day is a really brilliant idea. First thing in the morning, like a wake and shake type thing of the past, to get them active. Put a video on YouTube or whatever. I'll talk about Inspire 5 in a second. But yeah, there's so many resources out there that you can use to get children active first thing in the day, and then it just gets them ready for the rest of the day of learning, or certainly that first lesson. But I think what schools kind of stuck in their ways in some ways, that you have your lessons and that's kind of what you deliver to. And what we encourage our schools to do is to have those regular breaks during lessons as well. So after 20 minutes or 30 minutes, and your class better than anybody, So you'll know when they're flagging a little bit or when they could do with an injection or physical activity. So weaving that in after 20, 30 minutes, even if it's just a 5-minute lesson, 5-minute burst, or even if it's for specific children in your class. As I said, if you do have a teaching assistant or somebody in the classroom that can support you with that, they can take specific groups out during the day that struggle to concentrate for longer than 15 minutes at a time, for instance. So it doesn't have to be a whole class thing, but it can be a whole class thing as well. So yeah, as I said, weaving those physical activity breaks in is really key, not just with the pandemic that we're experiencing at the moment, but moving forward to raise activity levels with children also. Oops. Okay, so I mentioned hand sanitizer in and out of lessons, and I know that our coaches are sort of cleaning and wiping down equipment at the end of each lesson. And I think schools are, Tash will add to this in a second, but I think some of our schools are not necessarily becoming a bit more relaxed about this, but equipment is beginning to move between different groups, not necessarily every part of the lessons, but not going from one class to the next. But it potentially is being rotated on a weekly basis or a 2-weekly basis. Again, my daughter's school, they do have a set of equipment, but even if it's just being used by one bubble, they're still wiping it down, they're still cleaning it at the end of every PE lesson. Obviously, with the guidelines around the infection rate being far lower outdoors than it is indoors. So, we're lucky that September of late has tended to be a really nice sort of time of year. And hopefully by October half term and beyond, the numbers will start to go down further so that indoor PE becomes easier. But I just really encourage PE to be delivered outside at all times, really, unless it's obviously pouring down and it's really unsafe to do so. But just get them outside. Even if you have to do your PE in a different slot, try and do it outdoors, especially with those infection rates higher indoors. I mentioned about breaking the group down in half, and that's especially useful for early years and year one for the younger ones. And I think this is the final slide before I introduce Tash. I can actually have a break, my mouth's getting a bit dry. Equipment. So at the start of the lockdown, we were delivering PE with no equipment really. So it was athletics based, it was movement based stuff, just fun games outside. And as we progressed through, what we suggest to our schools was every bubble could have a set piece of equipment or set pieces of equipment that they can use, and that's their equipment for the period of however long we're in this. And as I've mentioned there, every bubble was having sort of a set piece of equipment. It might be a football, a few tennis balls, whatever, but it was the important thing to note is that it was theirs and it belonged to that bubble. And I know even at the start of lockdown, the guidance was not sharing equipment. So again, we've taken it's a kind of our take on it, so that we can deliver PE still, but as safely as possible. And then some of our schools, we basically, our guidance and our stance to our schools was we'll go in and deliver PE with no equipment. That was our stance. And then if schools wanted us to incorporate equipment in, then we proposed that these were kind of 2 levels that they could that they could choose to deliver PE with. So it wasn't our choice, it was our schools that would make that choice of how to deliver, but we provided, that guidance of what to do. And then, the second one there is a rotation of kit, which will work, I think, really well from September, that if different year groups or different bubbles are doing different activities where possible, then you're limiting the amount of children that come into contact with that kit. And then after a set period, maybe it's 2-3 weeks, that equipment has a deep clean and it rotates around. Even after every lesson, if that kit is being shared, it should still be cleaned to minimise the risk as and where possible. That's what we were doing, and that's what our staff were doing. So, our schools were choosing one of those 2 options. Obviously, none of them are ideal for delivering PE, and I think from September, a group kit for every group when all year groups are back is going to be really difficult with the numbers and the lack of equipment to spread it around the whole school. So a rotation of kit would work really well. But again, it's down to the school to make that choice. I'm not saying that that's the right thing to do. It's just some options. And again, if schools are being really strict with the guidance, then PE can still be delivered with no equipment. Okay. Tash, I'm going to unmute you and put you on the spot if I can work out how to do it. Where are we?
There we go.
So thank you, Tash, for joining us. I'll just quickly introduce Tash. So Tash is our primary school PE lead at Inspired Schools. Tash has been with us, is that right, Tash, for almost 6 years now?
Yeah,
right?
I think so.
For almost 5 years. Almost 6 years. So Tash is a qualified primary school PE teacher and is a fantastic deliverer of PE, and is our lead coach. She does all of our CPD. She does our observations. So she's really on it in terms of what our staff are delivering. And I'm going to hand over to you, Tash, if you wouldn't mind sharing some stories. That would be fantastic.
No, that's fine. Thanks, Ben. So as kind of Ben's alluded to, schools can kind of adapt the guidelines that we've sort of been set to meet their needs. And I've kind of found that within our schools, they kind of fit into sort of 3 categories. So you've either got schools who have decided that no equipment is to be used for PE. Then you've got some schools where I've decided that you can use equipment for PE, but within that lesson, they're not to share equipment or touch the same equipment as another child. And then in the infant school I've worked at, they've kind of decided that social distancing is not really going to be possible for the children that they kind of teach. So they've decided that within their bubble, there's not going to be such a concern on social distancing. So they're allowed to be within 2 meters of each other. They're allowed to share equipment and toys and things like that, but then they don't get too close to other bubbles. So other bubbles within the school are kept separate. So the playground's kind of being divided, so they don't mix in that way. They mix within their bubble, but not within another bubble. So I'm just going to go into a bit more detail about what we kind of do. Don't know where that's coming from. Within those kind of 3 different sets. Obviously, no equipment makes PE the most challenging, because obviously it needs to revolve around sort of fitness-based exercises or athletics. And over time, that can sort of become repetitive and dull. We found it with some of the children on forums and things where parents started with Joe Wicks and then found sort of after week 5, week 6, they were struggling. And we don't want to find that in schools where their children are feeling dull and uninspired by what we're kind of offering. So we've kind of tried to adapt it to games that they like playing anyway. So one that we've sort of tried recently is sort of rock, paper, scissors fitness challenges. So you pair up with another child, keeping your distance. You play a game of rock, paper, scissors. Whoever loses is then set a forfeit of doing 10 sort of fitness exercises. So 10 star jumps, 10 burpees. And then as soon as they've done those 10, they then play another game. The idea is to play as many games within that 2 minutes as you can before sort of rotating on. So it adds that little bit of excitement. You get to almost set a challenge for someone if you win. And that kind of keeps the children a little bit more interested and makes it a little bit more engaging to stop it from that kind of repetitive, oh, we're just doing fitness, oh, we're doing squats again, that kind of mentality. Within our second set of schools, where they are allowed to use PE equipment, but are not necessarily allowed to share equipment, we kind of come back to a lot of skills and technique, which is great because it gives us the chance to sort of, with smaller groups, work in more detail with those children, help them develop at a faster rate than, for example, if we had 30. I mean, in one of my schools, I teach 40 year 4s in one lesson. So going from that to sort of having 10 of them means that we can work specifically on things in detail. But again, it's that not wanting them to get bored with the repetitiveness of sort of passing the ball backwards and forwards or trying to hit a target. So what we've sort of introduced is the idea of levels. Kids are mad into their computer games. Things like Roblox and Minecraft have really exploded over the last couple of years. And children really understand the concept of levels. So they know that each level is going to get a little bit harder. But they also like the idea of that challenge. They want to get to the next level as quickly as they can. They want to be the first person to get to that level. So I've really found that that keeps the children engaged. So for example, if you're looking at kicking within football, level 1 would be just trying to get the ball through a sort of gate. Level 2 would then be trying to knock over a cone. So those orange sort of size medium cones are great for this with their strongest foot. Then level 3 would be looking at kicking it with their weaker foot. Level 4 moving them back a little bit further, so adding distance to make a challenge. Level 5 would then be, you could add a little barrier to it, so they've got to sort of chip the ball over that barrier, a knock over cone. There's so many different ways you can sort of change skills, and they love that level idea. It also brings into focus some other things that we sort of teach in physical education, away from the skill-based things, because you'll see children getting frustrated if they can't reach a level. Some of them start to get a little bit angry and lose focus, and this was something that you might normally have found in your PE lessons when you went into team games. Children getting annoyed that they're not winning, children getting annoyed that they're not getting the ball, and it provides a real good opportunity to sort of talk to those children about, actually, no, let's try and persevere. Can we get to the end of this level? Can we move up a stage? How can we refocus ourselves? How can we calm down? And it also gets them to reflect on their own ability, because you can talk to them about, right, do we need to go back and redo level 3, try it again for a bit more practice, so that we're then ready to try the next level. And I found that works really, really well, and it's easy to adapt across sort of all sports. We've even done it with cone flipping if we haven't been able to get outside, just one cone. I've managed to come up with 6 or 7 different levels for flipping a cone, and the kids love it. I mean, they love to bottle flip, so cone flipping is exciting to them as well. Then, as I said, the kind of third stage, I've got, particularly within the infant school I deliver at, where there are no social distancing within a bubble. We're back to that kind of traditional sort of PE lesson. I try to limit as much as I can the equipment we use. It just makes it easier for myself in terms of cleaning things between lessons. But again, the kids are great that way. Smaller groups means we can focus on specific areas. We've been doing a lot of throwing and catching. Again, using balls that are easily cleaned. So I've stayed away from tennis balls and bean bags. So those things are a lot harder to clean. So looking at sort of plastic balls, plastic dodge balls, even the kind of, with the older children, the quick cricket balls are easy to wipe down. You can also write their name on them in whiteboard pen, so they know it's theirs, and those wipe off easily as well. So those are just kind of the things we've been doing within our sessions. And like I said, if you've got any questions or want to ask me anything specifically, then feel free to just pop a message in the chat.
Great, thank you, Tash. And also what I'll do at the end of the slides is mine and Marcus's email addresses, and also the generic email address for Inspired Schools will be on there. And we can send those trophies. Thanks for that, that's kind of you. So, next slide, if I can get to it. So, I don't know if Gary's still here. He's been struggling. Oh, he's gone, he's legged it. He's disappeared. Gary, how dare you? So, I was going to introduce Gary. I'm pretty sure he's not on here anymore. I don't think he is. He's dropped out. He just messaged me saying his internet's unstable. Oh, he might be back on. Here he is. Good timing. Gary, can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I'm not sure how I sound.
You sound okay. Yeah, well, good. Thanks.
I'll give it a go.
Thanks for persevering. Yeah, give it a bash. So I'll just introduce you quickly, Gary. So Gary is one of our partners. Gary's based in Norfolk, and his company is called EduFit. And I'll let you say a bit more about that, Gary, in a second. And also, Gary has been delivering out into schools as well, so has a take on some of the activities that he's been delivering. So over to you, Gary, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, that'd be brilliant.
I'm director of EduFit Limited. We're a health and fitness-based sports program company. We work mainly in primary schools, similar to Ben. I came from a secondary school background and adapted my teaching into primaries over the last 5 or 6 years. Specifically for today, I've been in teaching similar to the bits that Natasha's just been talking about, really, and I have had some really good experiences, really. I think that's the main message from me tonight, is about keeping things fun and active and being
We may have lost Gary. But a good message to send. If that's all Gary's going to say, what a great nugget of information, fun and active. So thank you for joining us, Gary. Hopefully you might be able to add to that in a second if you can manage to get back on, but no worries if not. So Gary's based in Norfolk, and I guess a little bit of background about our partners. So as I said, we're based in Somerset. So Marcus, Natasha and I and the rest of our staff team is Somerset based. And as I said, the Inspired Schools project, of which Inspired Playground is our main core offering, is very Somerset based. Probably 75% of our schools are in Somerset. So our vision for Inspired Schools is to impact as many schools and as many children as possible, raising physical activity levels. And again, like I said earlier, inspiring children to not get active primary schools, but to take it into secondary schools and beyond into adulthood. So to help us spread that message and help us to impact more children and impact more schools, our partners, our growing partners, so we've got 5 now, 4 that are on tonight's call, and another one who's joining us hopefully soon, are helping us to spread that message through their network of schools, and hopefully, as I said, getting Inspired Schools and Inspired Playgrounds projects into more schools and impacting more children. So that's our first partner, Gary, introduction there. And I'm just going to go into one of our specific solutions. So Natasha and Gary very briefly talked about what they are delivering into schools, and Inspired 5 is one of the activities that we deliver, and that is now going to be part of our Inspired platform, if you like. So part of the Inspired Playgrounds project, hopefully this will load up, please. As part of our Inspired Playgrounds project, schools get access to the web application. Now the web application is for monitoring physical activity levels specifically, but what we've done and what we're doing, I just realised why my internet's so slow. I'm on the Wi-Fi. I usually go through my 4G. Okay, so on the platform, as you can see there, this is what schools will now see. So initially it was just sessions, and they would record physical activity levels, and the children record this. The children, Ben, who I'll introduce later, has been going into schools and training schools and the children up on how to use this and how to record data. So on here, the children record sessions, and activity levels of the children that take part are recorded. Inspired 5 is our 5-minute video, so 5-minute blasts of physical activity. As you can see there, you've got HIIT, workouts, dance, sports stories, yoga, etc. And what we've done now is actually these videos are linked. So your class, your account would be linked to your class. So when you play an Inspired 5 video, those minutes get logged onto your class's total. What we're going to encourage schools to do for September is have sort of competitions within the school to see who's recording the most Inspired 5 videos, who's getting the most activity during the week, and that's all automatic. And then what Natasha's working on for us at the moment is some schemes of work for all activities and all across the curriculum, whether that's dance, whether that's gymnastics, cricket, whatever it might be, whatever you want to deliver, it will be covered. And what Tash is going to add to that resource over the summer is social distance ideas, so socially distanced PE ideas. And what that will do then, so there'll be another tab up here next to Inspired 5, and that will be schemes of work, lesson plans, etc., etc. So schools will buy into this and they'll get access to everything that's on this platform. So Inspired 5, schemes of work, and also the activity tracker as well. So I won't play any videos because my Wi-Fi will probably crash. But if you want to see any Inspired 5 videos, jump on our website. There are sample videos that are on the website, so you can check those out and test those out. Right, let's go back to this. So that's the platform. Everything that's on there is available to schools. And what we want to do, we're looking for pioneer schools for September who will be able to gain access to the platform for the entire academic year for just £99. We want the pioneers to test to see how it works. We want to gain feedback. We want to improve the platform as we go. And we've got ideas of what we're going to add to that platform over the year. Things like CPD for teachers, for PE specific lessons, how to deliver PE, maybe some behaviour management tools in there, possibly some revision guides for children, and maybe even a parent portal as well down the line as well. So parents can access this to play videos in the home, but they can also access revision guides and how to build resilience in your children, like a 6-part lesson, for instance, on that. So we're going to build that as we go. But as I said, we're looking for pioneer schools to join us from September, and it will just be £99 for those pioneer schools, but you have to sign up before September, and then it will go on to be full price. But what we want from those pioneer schools is to help us to improve that platform and that offering so that it's everything that you want it to be moving forwards. So that's our first solution. And then I'm going to introduce Juliet, who co-owner, Juliet, I think that's right, so I'm going to unmute you if I can work out how to do that, of Fortius PE. Juliet is the first partner to join us and joined us 2 weeks before lockdown, and we were all excited and enthused about how it was going to go. We had all these amazing plans about how we were going to take the project into Wiltshire, which is where Juliet schools are based. And then obviously the pandemic kicked in and we've had to sort of put things on the shelf for now, but we're ready to go again. And Juliet runs an amazing sports conference, probably the best PE conference that Marcus and I have been to in the Cotswolds, which is a lovely area to attend anyway, but it's a fantastic conference, which is how we met Juliet. And we played an Inspired 5 video last year. So I guess, Juliet, a bit about you, how that Inspired 5 video was received at the conference, and why we teamed up, I suppose. Let me just unmute you. Oh no, I think I've unmuted you.
Thanks, Ben. Good evening, everybody. I mean the Inspired 5 video was great. I mean, it was just after lunch, I think, and we got everybody up and about, and it was just really easy. I think that was a big thing. It was just a case people were sat down. The next minute, they're all jumping around and being active, being energized, and it was a really, really easy, straightforward thing to do. So you can do it with 120 people in a conference room, then it can definitely be used really effectively in a classroom, and easily done socially distanced as well, in terms of the current situation. So it went down really, really well. As I say, as Ben says, we met Ben and Marcus at our conference a few years ago, and we're really looking forward to building the partnership. I think in Swindon, we've got lots of great stuff going on, but I think there's perhaps not been as big a focus on playgrounds as there could be. And again, in this current climate, getting the children outside more is going to be a big thing. And I think the wonderful thing about Inspired Playgrounds markings that they're very, very specific. They've been thought through really, really carefully, and they can be used in so many different ways by the school, and can enhance PE, but it can also help that 30 minutes a day. So I think we're really looking forward to, as Ben says, building our partnership when we get a chance to actually meet in person and do some really, really kind of promising work. I think just like to add just one thing on what we've been talking about with current PE in schools is I think the real key for me is just really be guided by your risk assessment. You know, you've got risk assessments for PE already, so use those really, really effectively with the new guidelines. There's lots of great advice out there from various associations, including local ones and national ones, but really be guided by your risk assessment, and you're making sure that those children are getting as much challenge as possible, that they are being educated as much as possible, but making them feel fun, having fun, and being confident in their surroundings again, and making them feel that they're secure again, I think is really, really important as well. But we've got to keep them challenged and make sure there's a difference between PE and physical activity, because the two go hand in hand, but there's also a clear difference between the two as well.
Absolutely, no, I completely agree. And I think just to finish on that point, Juliet, I think PE, if delivered well, enables those children to access physical activity better and enjoy it more. If they understand their body and all those things that you learn in PE, then those physical activity challenges, whatever it might be, become far more enjoyable to children that can do it and that can access it. Absolutely. Okay, great. Thank you, Juliet. I'm going to move swiftly on because I know we're getting on for time. So Juliet mentioned Inspired Playgrounds. So this is a solution that our coaches are using on a daily basis. And as you can see there, this is a video actually from I think July 2017, where we did a morning workout. So this is our very first playground, and this was a parent and child workout that we did back in July 2017. As you can see, everybody's relatively socially distanced without us trying to do it for that reason. So it was a socially distanced session without actually trying to deliver one. So that's an inspired playground and what it looks like. Here is an overhead shot of that first playground. They look a little bit different than that now. That was, like I said, our very first playground that we installed. So as you can see, 5 markings. You can see the spots that are in the far right-hand corner just about. You've got a 4 square court in the far left. And those are our 5 stations. So if you can imagine a group of 30 children, or if as I say, if you can split that group into 15, then great. If you split them per station, go ahead. And like Marcus said, the slides will be sent out, so you can have a look at this. This is all on our website as well. So this is what you get from the Inspired Playgrounds package. This is our second solution to what Inspired Playgrounds is. I will click this link. I apologise if it takes a while to load. I won't play any videos because I'm very aware that if I do, my internet might drop out. But I will share the website and on here, on resources, on videos, on resources, videos, Inspired Playgrounds, which is the link we're on here. There are loads of different videos of what an Inspired Playground is. You've got some sort of more adverty type videos, some punchy ones showing, excuse me, high intensity videos. You've got a nice video of me talking about why an Inspired Playground is better than a trim trail as a solution, especially with the current pandemic and touching the wood, etc. So they'll all be out of action from September. They're certainly out at my daughter's school at the moment. There are some more videos on page 2. So yeah, there's some videos there on Inspired Playgrounds. And then, as I said, Inspired Playgrounds under our solutions, you can get all the information about what that is and what that entails on there. I won't go into any more detail on that, but those videos are there for you to look at your leisure. And then I'm going to introduce Ben. I'm going to unmute you, Ben. So I mentioned Ben. Oh, can I unmute you, Ben? Or have you muted yourself? So Ben is our Inspired Playground tutor and has been so for around 18 months, I think, Ben, and has done a fantastic job, brilliant job. And the feedback from schools that Ben has delivered into is fantastic, is amazing. And really excitingly, yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you. Really excitingly, Ben is joining us now, not just as our playground tutor, but is actually starting a coaching arm of the business. So our coaching arm that we have in Somerset, Ben is going to head up and lead the coaching arm in Devon, which is where Ben lives. And it's yeah, not so much a partnership, but more working together and expanding into Devon for both the coaching, but also the Inspired Playground, Inspired Schools. So Ben, a bit of background about yourself, and I guess how you think the Inspired Playgrounds can help with social distancing, given that you've been the main man delivering those sessions.
Okay, yeah. First bit of background about myself. There might be some background noise, but it's positive. My 10-year-old is actually making dinner for us all. So if you hear a load of crashing in the kitchen, it's Martha making dinner. Yeah, so I come very much from a coaching background. I've always really coached. I started in gymnastics up in Norfolk. I worked under Paul Hall there, who ended up as a lead coach for Lewis Smith, who we all know went on to the Olympics. I now coach mainly endurance running and athletics. I do lots of stuff for England athletics and conferences, and coach right the way through the range. So literally just before this, back in from a coaching session where I coach groups where we had mixed abilities, and that's where I see very much is the challenge in schools, and especially in primary schools, is how do you get people. I know when I was growing up in the East End of London, and you think about playtime play, it was almost elitist. You know, it was, if I could go back and change it, I would. Our free time play was very much, if you could run fast, you were allowed to play the game. If you could play the ball well, you were allowed to play the game, and people were left out. And I think what I see our jobs as now, and what I see Inspired Playgrounds where it's working really well, is getting people to play across all abilities and still enjoy that time, that small amount of time, because it is, it's really important. It's important to us. It's precious to us that the small, where we can actually make a difference outside of the curriculum is trying to inspire them to play in their time, under their rules and under their, you know, and with their own guidance, and actually almost try and, you know, some of the schools that I've been into, where we've delivered the inspired playgrounds in, when I go back on a revisit, one of the really common things I get is the comment that we have less interruption, the teachers getting less interruption at break time and lunch time, where you've got squabbles of, you know, he's done this, she's done that, this has happened, that's happened. You know, where we've gone in and we've positively inspired the mentors, play just seems to flow a lot better, and that really is what we want. Yeah, Ben, where would you want me to go further on in terms of?
No, do you know what? I think that's absolutely fine, Ben, and that's a really nice point to finish on. I completely agree, and it's something that we haven't spoken about this evening. It is those conflicts that quite often happen, and it's a conversation that we have with a lot of our schools when we do have that initial dialogue, and we talk about, you know, tell us about your school, tell us about your break and lunch times. Do you have not necessarily behaviour problems, but are there issues? Are there conflict break and lunch times? Are enough children active? Like you said, Ben, play times can be very elitist, especially if they're quite a small playground and there's not space for children to
100%.
activities in own spaces. You tend to have, I was at school, I just play football every break time, but thinking back now, what did those children do that didn't play football? And you often see a lot of children that are, you know, sat in a safe space and they're just talking to their friends, which is fine, but we need to try and help those children find a way to fall in love with physical activity, whether that is football or whether it is that they want to do some dancing at break and lunchtime. Everybody's different. Everybody's got different loves and needs and wants and different social groups. So we need to try and cater to as many children as we can. And Inspired Playgrounds is a great way of doing that because it isn't elitist, it's just participation and it's fun. You're with your friends, you're communicating, you're socialising. You can add some challenges in if you want to, but yeah, it's worked really well for our coaches. I'm going to move swiftly on to Rachel. Sorry, Rachel, for leaving you to the last. Last but not least, certainly, Rachel is from Dorset in Christchurch, I think, Rachel, is that right? Let me just, I can't unmute you, mate, Rachel. Can you unmute yourself? I can't find your picture.
Is that good?
Yes. Hi, Rachel. Awesome. So, Rachel, if you want to introduce yourself, I won't talk anymore. I'm getting fed up with the sound of my own voice. So, yeah, go for it, Rachel.
Super. Thanks very much, Ben, and good evening to everybody. Yeah, my name's Rachel. I run Toro Sports, which is a sports company based in Dorset in Christchurch. So I started out as a tennis coach sort of 20 years ago. I absolutely love the game, but I got the opportunity to start working in the local schools to deliver after school clubs and lunchtime sessions. And I just noticed the need for children to be more active. So I got more involved in delivering things at lunchtimes and after schools. I then developed myself as a sort of a multi-sports coach, a netball coach, a football coach, and I created a team around me, which I then help and support the schools in their delivery. And it's worked really well. And to be able to engage the kids in more sport every day has just been so rewarding for me as a coach and my team. And you can really see the impact. We run a tennis club outside and we run a netball club outside as well. So we've got really strong exit routes for the kids. But mainly for me, it's about getting kids more active, which is, I think, what you can see from every single person sitting on this panel is what we're about. We're trying to get more kids doing more sport during the day. And when I saw these guys and got the opportunity to become a partner, I was thrilled. I think it's going to be a win-win for the whole of, hopefully, the UK. So we can spread our word across, but definitely for Dorset, I think the schools in this area, the PE leads are fantastic. I have a really good link with Dan Moody, with the SGOs, and Sarah Dunsford. I think they're superb. But we all need support. We all need new ideas. We all need a fresh approach sometimes. So being able to link together with everybody is a really, like I say, a win-win for everybody, really.
Thank you, Rachel. And yeah, we're almost finishing off here. So what I'll do is I'll wrap this up now and contact details, I just realised that yours aren't on there, Rachel, so I'll add Rachel's contact details to the slides. If you are in anyone's area, as I said, Rachel's Dorset, Ben is Devon, Gary is Norfolk, and Jet is Wiltshire. So if you're in any of those areas, maybe you recognise the familiar faces and you want to get in touch, feel free to reach out to them directly, or my Marcus's details are also on here, and you can contact us and we can relay you to the correct person. So I hope that there has been value in this evening. I know we talked about our products quite a bit towards the end, but they are really good solutions to the social distancing issues that schools face. But also Natasha and very, very briefly gave you some ideas on what you can do social distancing wise in your PE lesson. So hopefully that's been of value. These slides will be sent out on Friday, or the link to the slides will be sent out on Friday. They will sit on our website that you can go on there and download. As I said, the Inspired 5 platform will be available at £99 until September, and we're looking for those pioneer schools. We've got about 10 that have joined us so far as pioneer schools, so we are looking for more. We want as much feedback as possible from September through to sort of what you think of it. Is it good? Is it, what could be improved? What do you like about it? Would you like more Inspired 5 videos? Would you like some Inspired 5 videos on yoga or on mindfulness? Whatever it might be, we are here to support you, and we want to create the best possible product for you and your schools. So we will be collating from all the pioneer schools from September, and then October half term as a good opportunity to gain as much feedback as we can. And then from October onwards, we will then develop that product to suit the needs of your school. We can't obviously do everything. We can't build everything onto the platform, but obviously if there's a consensus of something, whether it is mindfulness being something that you think will be really valuable to the children, especially after what they've been through so far, then absolutely we can build that onto the platform. So as I said, that's £99, and you need to register for that before September. And then Inspired Playgrounds, if you're interested in that product, please get in touch. Please reach out to us or any of our partners, and we can give you more information about what that looks, how that operates at your school, what the training days look like, exactly what you get from it. And the links to the website will all be on the slides as well. There's also a free leader course, sport leader course on the website as well, to start training your leaders. So that might be something that you do from September as kind of like a feed in to raising physicality. Our sports leaders at all of our schools are really key. They're so important. Ben would echo this with the work that he's done, that the leaders literally run the project for the schools, taking any delivery onus away from the teachers. I won't say anything more other than to say thank you so much for joining us. Marcus, are there any questions?
Yeah, one or two, Ben. One kind of something specific, really. I know we've previously done a webinar with kind of more practical delivery ideas, and I know quite a few people have tuned into that webinar as well. But for those people that are on here tonight, are we able to send out that previous webinar? And I know that gives some kind of practical ideas, some games, some activities around kind of the actual kind of delivery side of it. I know we've talked about our products tonight, but it would be valuable for some of the guys on here tonight, I'm sure, to receive those slides as well, to give them kind of those physical and practical ideas on delivery. We've had one or two people kind of request those. If they can go out, that would be fantastic. We've had Susan talking about, are any schools delivering orienteering? And, you know, for me, it's a fantastic way to get kind of children outside, open spaces, something really, really engaging, but also something different as well. So, you know, I know some of our schools are participating in that at the moment. And yeah, absolutely. With regard to any ideas around orienteering, I know that we've got some kind of lesson plans and support resources as well. So, I mean, if there is anyone that goes away tonight and thinking, I could really do with this resource, or I really need some support with it, we're more than happy. After our previous webinar, I had, I think, 3 one-to-one phone calls, and really it was a chat in any way we can at all to support delivery and support you guys on the ground. There's no sign up. It's just kind of we're here to have a chat. We're available. So, you know, myself and Ben's contact details are on our website or on the slides as well. So, you know, feel free to book in some contact time and we'll support any way we can. I think that's about it.
Just,
I think.
Sorry. Yeah, just on the slides from previous webinars that we've done, they are all on the blog section. So resources blog, and if you click on there, I'll send the link out on Friday as well. But all the I think they're on there. Yeah, so they're all on there in PDF format or Keynote format, whichever you prefer. How to get children physically active for those 30 minutes per day. Our first keynote on social distancing in PE. That's actually, yeah, so that would be a good one around the outdoor ed. That was a chat that I had with Dan Bryce. So that's an article that I wrote after speaking to Dan Bryce, who's an expert in outdoor education. We talk about orienteering specifically and how to deliver that. So yeah, click on the blog, I'll send the links out, but yeah, those are all on there as downloadable resources on there. And that was it, Marcus, did you say?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, as we've mentioned kind of previously, feel free, any follow-up after kind of you receive the slides, we're available and we're here to help. And if there's somebody local to you within the panel as well, I'm sure they'll be more than happy to support in any way they can as well.
Questions in the Q&A. What have we got in there? I think Marcus answered most of those.
I think I have, yeah.
Great. Okay, last thing then to say is thank you to all of our panelists. So Natasha, Ben, Juliet, Rachel, and very briefly Gary, who I guess has given up with his Wi-Fi connection this evening. But yeah, thank you for joining us and thank you for your input this evening. As I said, if you recognise any of these familiar faces, please feel free to get in touch. And yeah, we will probably host one more, I reckon, before the end of the academic year to say have a lovely summer. So yeah, have a great rest of the week, everybody, and see you soon.